What's up, guys? It's Michael. We're back, episode 6. Today we're going to be joined by Ryan Holliday of iink, and we're going to talk growth plans and scaling your business.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
What's up, guys? We're back. Another episode. We are on episode 6 of Talk About It. So we are joined today by good friend Ryan Holliday of iink. I've got my tacos. I've got my Diet Mountain Dew. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Absolutely. So obviously it's kind of a prerequisite. Do you have the tacos?
You know I wouldn't show up without tacos, so I have some right here from Fuzzy's Tacos. A little hard to see, I guess, with the camera, but local shop here just outside of Tampa. Delicious.
Absolutely. So Fuzzy's Tacos. I'm going to try to add 5 Amigos tacos to the taco counter while we're live today. You've got some great advice for us. So let's dig into some tacos. We'll dig into some good advice for contractors. You also, I think, maybe have a chocolate milkshake.
I do, because in the spirit of you and I getting together, there has to be milkshakes. So we have a chocolate peanut butter milkshake. Cheers, sir.
Cheers to that. Awesome. Well, enjoy that milkshake. So obviously this year for Talk About It, we're talking advice that you would give, or best advice that you would give to contractors. Yours was on the growth mindset for a company. I thought it was great advice. Maybe just elaborate a little high level on that, and then we'll dig into some questions here.
Sure. I think what a lot of contractors, fail to do, especially in the beginning, is talk about growth plans for the company and, how do you set proper expectations? How do you set proper goals, and how do you track them? I think knowing where you're going is just as important as knowing where you're at and what you need to improve to get there. So I felt that was a good thing for us to chat about today.
Yeah. So this next question may seem obvious, but as a business owner, when do I go out and create that growth plan? Do I do it day one? I'm guessing 99% of business owners aren't doing it day one. At what point in their life cycle would you advise them to start thinking through the growth plan and putting it down on paper?
So day one is the right answer. I think even if you don't have experience in an industry, or this is a new venture for you, putting together a plan is absolutely necessary, even if you don't know how to do it. So I would recommend maybe a top-down approach and figure out where you want to be in the next few years. 5 years is a good mark, and take it backwards from there. Once you know where you're headed, you can figure out what it's going to take to get there, who you need in place to help get you there, and what the plan of action is.
Perfect. So ideally it was done day one. I'm going to guess we've got a lot of contractors joining us not on day one of their life cycle.
Sure.
And a lot of them without a growth plan in place, or maybe it's a very fuzzy growth plan. What goes into formulating that growth plan, or what steps should I take as a contractor to maybe add a little clarity to maybe my growth plan?
Well, you can start at any time. If you haven't on day one, today's a great day to start, or pick the first rainy day of the week that you get, especially if you're a roofer. But what was the question? Where do we start? Or what do you start?
How do I start? Yeah.
How do you start?
You got tacos and milkshakes on your brain? Yeah. What goes into formulating that initial growth plan?
Well, math is a big one. I would say the most obvious one for people who want to, I guess, just make decisions that are easily trackable. You can, like I said, figure out with where you want to be. So let's say you have the goal to generate in 5 years $5 million a year in revenue. So what's it going to take to get to 5 million in revenue after year 5, and what's that look like for you? Um, and in taking that top-down approach, like I said, you can start identifying, okay, well, if the company is doing $5 million a year, I'm doing $0 a year right now, or whatever you're doing right now, maybe it's $1 million a year. What's it going to take for me to get to 5 million? And where can we improve upon the process that we have in place now in order to get there? I think one misnomer that a lot of contractors have is that in order to scale up, they have to double or triple down on certain resources. They need, if they're doing $1 million a year now and they have one person in the office, they think that they're going to need 5 people in the office to get to 5 million a year, and that's certainly not true. So I think understanding the mathematics behind everything, tracking KPIs and understanding your margins and things like that will help you determine how you want to spend money, what your use of funds is, where you want to apply those funds, and when you want to apply those funds. So.
Perfect. You hit on a couple things I really want to dive into. We're going to take a break here shortly. I want to dive into the KPIs, the margins, those kind of things after the break. But before we get to a quick break, let's talk about who needs to know this plan, because I think that's probably a spot where a lot of contractors are falling short. They may have the plan, it may be a fuzzy plan in their mind of, hey, we did 3 million last year, I want to do 5 million this year. A 3-year plan, I want to do 10 million a year. Who else needs to know that plan? Who else needs to see that vision?
I think everybody needs to know the plan. If you want to be a one-man show and go out and get to 5 million a year on your own, be my guest. But I'd say it's going to take a team, and every person needs to know their role, their responsibility. They need to know how they're going to execute, what the support structure is going to be like, and everyone's going to have to come back and report their findings on a regular basis. What do we accomplish? How are we tracking that data? And then how are we improving upon it so that we can get to where we want to be? And I think most folks, they're going to set goals where I think if they're doing all those things and staying on track, that they can probably exceed their initial goal and revise down the line and find out that there's much more that's possible once you start tracking all those key performance indicators.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're dead on. I think everybody needs to know the plan, know the vision, and then having some ideas as to what role do I play in getting us to that goal? What can I do? Do you think that having some transparency, obviously, there's a level of transparency that you probably don't want to just expose everything to your employees, but having some transparency so that they kind of have an idea of, hey, where are we at? Are we close? Are we hitting these numbers? Is that something you would recommend for contractors to do with their employees?
I think a lot of folks, and this can be in any business, but particularly with contractors, they're worried about everybody knowing the numbers. Roofing in particular is not difficult in my opinion. Most people know what materials cost. Most people know what labor costs. I mean, if you're brand new in the industry, you're going to know these things within 6 months anyway. And at the end of the day, if you know what you're charging your customers and you can, figure a couple things out, you're going to understand how much the contractor is actually making or the company is making in profit on these jobs. So it doesn't, I think, take rocket science to understand all that. So why would you want to try and make an effort to really hide it from everybody? Let's be open about it. I think everyone brings strengths to an organization, and you can also bring weaknesses. But what everyone obviously wants to focus on is individual strengths. And even though people have this information, understand this information, doesn't mean that they're going to go out and just start their own company and become a competitor. And you know what? If they do, it gives you an opportunity to learn and grow from the experience. And it doesn't always mean that it's going to be a bad thing. There's always a good there's always a good side to having friendly competition. You go and work in a neighborhood, and people need options whenever they're selecting a roofer. Well, if you know the other two roofers in the neighborhood, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, So I think that's a really weird way and sometimes a challenging way to look at things. But I think everybody should understand the plan. Everyone should be involved in the plan, and everyone should be clear on their role within the organization and how they're going to contribute to the greater success. Because just as most business owners are learning throughout this process, is that if they can't do it on their own, they're going to need the help. That means the next person isn't going to be able to do it on their own. And they're going to need the help. So it's not as easy for everyone just to jump up and go do their own thing, I think, as most people think. So I would include everybody and make sure that everyone's understanding of that role and how to contribute.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm even thinking, I think like you said, on roofing, it's fairly straightforward. I'm guessing any of the industries, as you dive deeper into them, it's pretty easy. Like, hey, we want to paint this house. We expect it to take us 60 hours to paint the house. If we can do that in 58 hours, there's no easier way to grow than to just improve your margins. And we'll talk about that with our KPIs. Improve the margins on our existing jobs. We don't have to close more jobs. We don't have to do anything. Let's just make more money on the jobs we've already got. And so, finding ways, I think, to incentivize the team to chase those numbers, to hit those goals, I think that's a very important thing. I would assume that's probably something that you would echo as well, is, finding goals and celebrating those successes in some capacity with your team.
Yeah, build a company that people don't want to leave. Get that company growing and maximize your potential. I think so many folks, they're going to focus on certain aspects of the business that they may feel important or that they need to protect. But at the end of the day, speed to market and how well you treat your employees is just so important. If you've worked on developing your branding, your marketing, and your company mission, and you really set out to make a difference or show that you're different than everyone else, then capitalize on that and make it happen as quickly as possible. At the end of the day, if you grow a super successful company that's doing, let's say, 10, 15, $20 million a year in even just one state or two states, which I would consider, fairly successful company, the idea that someone's going to leave that and take what you've done and go out and duplicate it is not likely. So, yeah, I think that's where the focus needs to lie is growth, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, episode 2, we talked with Matt Grassmeyer about creating powerful moments for your team. And I think that, if you take some of his advice and then you look at, hey, we're growing now, what can I do to keep my team happy, keep my team engaged, keep my team on board? I think that is, imperative to keeping your team there. If they want to be there, they're not going to leave. There's no reason to. So as long as they feel taken care of and as a part of the team. So I think those are great advice points there. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here, and we will be right back with Ryan Holliday from iink.
Let's talk about it.
Hey guys, remember, if you do have questions, go ahead and comment below. At the end of the season, we're going to be going live with a special guest, and we'll get all those questions answered for you.
Let's talk about it.
What's up, guys? We're back here. Ryan Holliday with iink. Like we talked about earlier, Ryan, I wanted to dive into the KPIs a little bit. In your opinion, before we talk about, holding people accountable to hitting KPIs, how do I incentivize it? What are some good KPIs for a contractor to have in terms of growing their company?
Well, I knew we'd be talking about this today, so I wrote a couple down. There's so many that you can track, and I think it's divisible by department, of course, but some of the ones, particularly for contractors, obviously, number of new contracts in a month. You had brought it up earlier. There's a lot of companies out there that, they're doing, let's say, 1 million or 2 this year, but next year they're all of a sudden going to want to do 8 million. They say, yeah, we're on track to do this. Well, what did you do last year? That'd be my first question. If they did 2 million this year and they only did 1 million last year, what is leading everyone else to believe that they're going to, you know, 4x their volume without some significant, you know, improvements and changes. And then what do you need to track in order to get there? How do you hold people accountable on the way there? So, you know, number of new contracts in a month is a great one to track for sales. The dollar value of your contracts, you always want to know what's the average, you know, what's the average contract amount. And then after everything's said and done, you know, throw in some financial KPIs like what is my gross margin, what is my net margin at the end of the day when everyone's paid, how much do I make on each job, each roof, whatever the case may be. You know, and then you figure out that the average net margin, and then you can do some simple math by saying, okay, well, if we do, you know, X number more jobs per month, and we can expect this amount in additional revenue, and that's going to get us on track. And then we need to continue that trend moving forward if we want to hit that 8 million. But most folks, you know, they like I said before, want to double down on existing efforts, and sometimes that's not always the best, because really then you're just doubling operating expenses or you know, other spends within the company that don't really relate to a higher ROI. So
Yeah. So one that is very familiar in a lot of contracting worlds is door knocking. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, where, you know, if it took us 1,000 door knocks to get X number of contracts last year, well, if we do 2,000 door knocks, we're going to get 2x the contracts, which the math plays out. But like you said, you've got to double your team out there to do that. What about some KPIs that would maybe be around improving that percentage at the door, or maybe a KPI on getting leads that would be outside of door knocking, or whatever it is? You know, are those KPIs that would be smart to track, in your opinion?
yeah, you always want to be looking for opportunities to improve your current processes. So rather than doubling down, you know, what can you do to make your process more effective, more efficient, and therefore increase your sales and your margins? Do you really want to double down your efforts to go knock twice as many doors next year? Or would you rather explore some additional potential marketing opportunities through social media or SEO or some form of internet marketing, you know, partnerships with other companies that, you know, can help get you business, and you complement theirs. There's a lot of different ways to get that additional business. And I think, you know, tracking the various KPIs, understanding your numbers really helps you begin to explore those things. I would, you know, there's always a way to improve something. If anyone's complacent in their business and they say, nope, we're doing everything exactly the way it needs to be done, and they're not willing to change, I think that is, you know, that's something to be fearful of. I'd be scared of anyone that has that sort of mindset, because times change regardless of whether or not businesses want to. And, you know, I would continuously explore any ways in which you can improve.
Yeah. And I would add, no matter the contracting space you're in, if you're out door knocking, I would make sure that you're tracking how many doors are we knocking a day, and not
Yep.
because, hey, I want to hold your hand as a door knocker and make sure you're working, but I want to know, hey, how many are you knocking? How many are you getting on the roof of those doors that you're knocking? Because that's going to help me understand how you know, how we're doing out there. Could we get better sales training for our team? You know, could we make our door knockers more efficient? Could we spend more money on our marketing so that, you know, people know us when we knock on the door and they say, oh, you're that company? Sure, absolutely. I see you all over Facebook. I see this, I see that. I would love an inspection. You know, how can I get that inspection percentage to go? If it's 20, how do I get it to 30 or 35 or 40? Because now I'm growing with the same size staff. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at there is, you know, how
Yep.
do I get more out of what we're currently doing? So you're not in roofing and it's, you know, you're in painting or HVAC or whatever it is, and it's you're out running appointments, those kind of things. Again, how do I increase that number of appointments? You know, how do I get Johnny to be out giving 5 quotes a day instead of 3? And a lot of that is marketing. We can get into that a little bit more. One thing that comes to mind for me is, how, as a business owner, do I hold my team accountable to hit KPIs, make sure they're being responsible to hit those KPIs without, you know, coming across as that dictator that's just, you know, breathing down their neck 24/7?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to inclusion, making sure everyone understands the plan and understands their role from the beginning. And then, it's as simple as having a meeting every week, maybe twice a week. What we do at Inc. is we have a leadership meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that gives us an opportunity at the beginning and the end of the week to kind of discuss what we've accomplished for the week. And then if there's certain things that are kind of bogging us down or we need help in certain areas, we bring other people in to help get that goal accomplished. So, it's really, quite simple stuff, in my opinion, to, set an appropriate schedule with your team, just stay in constant contact with them, continually review, review your KPIs, what's on target, what's not, what can we adjust to improve and make sure that we do reach those targets. And, holding someone accountable is not, or incentivizing them is it's not always just, promising more money, and holding them accountable isn't always telling them that they've done something wrong. It may be doing something different. How can you help? It's always about working together as a team to accomplish the overall goal of the company. I really encourage everyone to kind of, set aside, I think anything that has to do with them personally or any agendas that they may have, and really focus on what's best for the company, because that's going to be what's best for everybody. And at the end of the day, keeps it so that no one's really feeling that, they're pressure, or they're being forced to do it, into doing something. I think everyone has, that's part of a team, should want to improve and want to help others grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and we're talking about KPIs. I think a lot of that comes down to you as an owner setting good KPIs for your team. Johnny says he wants to go out and sell 2 million in roofs this year. His KPI cannot be sell, let's say 2.4 million, so I don't have to do any crazy math. His KPI cannot just be to sell 200,000 a month. Like that's not a good KPI, because when you go and you say, "Hey, Johnny, where are you at?" I did 160. Oh, you didn't hit it, or you did hit it. Helping Johnny reverse engineer, well, what's it going to take to get that? What's your, average closing percentage? What's this? What's that? Johnny, this is what you're going to need to do. And it may be as simple as X number of door knocks a day. Johnny, I think you need to knock this many doors a day. If you can increase your closing percentage, though, by X percent, help him see that to get to that, whatever number it is, 2.4. Well, if he can just increase his, inspection percentage and his closing percentage by a little bit, he can get to 3 million actually doing these numbers, those kind of things. So I think that's very important as well. What do you mentioned you wrote some stuff down. Did you write anything down from like a marketing or, just overall margins number? I know you love numbers. KPIs that they could be maybe tracking.
Yeah, I got some marketing stuff. I can give you an example. Maybe let's say you have a company that does $3 million a year. Okay. And that company wants to get to $6 million a year. Now, does that mean you just have to double down on all efforts, or how do you incentivize your existing team? Is it, giving them more of a bonus? Maybe it's not making more money. Maybe it's improving their success rate. So using that example, let's say you had to make the decision between, do I go from paying my salesmen 10% to paying them 12%, and that's going to incentivize them to want to go out and make more money. Now they have the opportunity to make more. They're going to go make more. That's typically not the case. You should probably think of it as, well, if we're doing $3 million a year, and instead of going from 10% to 12% commission, let me take that extra 2%, that's $60,000 a year, and let's apply it to, let's say, a customer support specialist, someone that does nothing but follow up with my customers, make sure that they received fantastic experience, and see if they have, anyone that they can refer. And, helping the sales team get more referrals is, I think, would be much more valuable to me as a salesperson than just telling me, yeah, you have the opportunity to make 2 more percent. So, when you understand those numbers, when you understand your gross margins, your net margins, what else I have here for marketing, your web traffic, what's your conversion rate? Your customer acquisition cost is a huge thing to understand. If you go out and spend $10,000 in marketing and that nets you, let's say, 10 roofs. Okay. Your customer acquisition cost is $1,000 a roof. A lot of people say, well, I've never paid $1,000 to get a roof lead. Well, if you paid $1,000 per lead and you spend 10 grand, but you've got 10 roofs that were 12,000 a piece, it's 120 grand. If you've got a 25% net margin, you just made $30,000. I don't know about you, Gogan, but if I had 10 grand and could make 30,000 in the next, 30, 60, 90 days off that investment, I'd want to do that all day long. So, there's, I think, different ways in exploring and understanding the numbers that can really, that so many people just think like, oh, I don't want to track this, I don't want to track that. It's just extra work. And, why we even need to know this stuff? Well, if you don't track it in the first place, how are you going to know exactly how to improve? And that's really, I think the key is, look, guys, this is business, especially, I don't know. I think especially in insurance restoration, there's a lot of money to be made. It can very much become like a video game once you understand the numbers and how to apply, appropriately to your business.
No, absolutely. And I think, with your example there of, hey, would you spend that $1,000 to get a roof? That's a very simple way of looking at it also, because, go back to your customer support specialist that you were talking about hiring. Well, that $1,000 that I spent to acquire customer A, let's pretend we do an amazing job, because that's what we do at our company. How many people does customer A now refer to us that, we can start attributing some of that back to that initial 1,000? And so,
yep.
I think that's actually where a lot of just contractors in general, they're so excited to go out and get that next contract that sometimes they maybe let their quality of work slip through the cracks. And, maybe it is hiring. I think that's a great idea. Hire that customer specialist that says, we're going to follow up with all these people, make sure they had that 5-star experience, see what referrals they have, tell their friends about what great job we did, share out on social media, those kind of things. And that opens up a whole plethora of new KPIs. Now that person has KPIs that they're chasing. How many likes can we get on Facebook? How many shares can we get? Lots of little things there. You've talked about incentivizing a little bit here and there. Obviously, having a good incentive structure is important. How important is making sure I know my incentive structure and my overall gross margin and my net margins and all of that? How important is it to make sure those things are aligning in my business?
Well, I mean, if they're not aligning, you might be out of business soon. So I'd say it's very important. And this sort of stuff is not. This stuff gets me excited, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a math guy, but I just like to know that there's an opportunity, or there's always an opportunity to review current processes and systems and make them better. And it's not that what you're doing is wrong. It's not that what somebody else is doing is better than what you're doing. This is more about what can I do to improve and make life easier. It's not just for me as a business owner, it's for everyone within the organization. If we can do all the same amount of work, but do a few tweaks to our process, and all of a sudden we've increased revenue by 25 or 50%, that's huge. That's a major win. Imagine if you could go to work every week, and every week, you come home with the same paycheck, but this week you go into work and your boss says, hey guys, we're going to take a look at a couple things and just change a couple pieces of our process, but it's about the same amount of work. And at the end of the day, we're going to pay you 30% more on your paycheck this week. Sound good? Like, who would say no to that? And that's really what we're talking about here is, just start with a profit and loss statement. If you've never put one together, Google it, start with a spreadsheet, just open the spreadsheet. I don't care if you start writing down, just here's what I think everything's going to cost. Somewhere on the internet, there's a template for you to go off of and start building your P&L and use the internet as a great basis for, finding those sorts of guides and putting your information together. But simply starting with a profit and loss statement can help you, it can help you build projections. It can help you understand your gross margins, your net margin, and how much money you're going to be making at the end of the day after everybody's paid, and then where to dump gas on that fire, what's working, what's not working, and how do I improve it, through tracking all these KPIs and then updating the P&L. It may sound like extra work, but if it's done right, it's the only thing that you'll have to do, and your business is going to run itself with the right individuals.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. And it seems obvious that, hey, I have to know my gross, my net, I have to know those numbers. But unfortunately, I think a lot of contractors or just business owners in general, they don't necessarily know those numbers. And so, the money's coming in, they think they're doing great. Yeah, we can give you a little more commission. We can do this. We can pay that. We can spend more here. And if you don't truly know those numbers, know where my leads are coming from, those kind of things, like you said, you don't know where to pour gasoline on the fire. And you might be pouring it in the completely wrong spot, or you might be spending, pouring gasoline that you shouldn't be pouring. You just, things are great. Last thing before I let you go, and I think this is probably, it pertains for sure to roofing, interior restoration, but I'm guessing there's a lot of, HVAC, if you've got an unseasonably warm or cold season, I could see it happening. How important is it to look at factors that would maybe be abnormal when trying to project growth? And, we shout out Hail Trace, say we had 3 5-star hail maps this week or this month, or this year, or, whatever it is. How important is that to maybe put a little asterisk next to it so that you're not, demoralized then the next year when you don't grow like you wanted to?
Yeah. I think it's super important. You can't have a banner year and then if it's all contributed to weather events in your area that were obvious indicators of added revenue, you can't use that as your standard moving forward. So certainly, I guess an anomalous year would be something to track, within your numbers. I'm trying to think of something else that would be kind of a weird thing to track, especially for like a roofing business that otherwise wouldn't. Well, how about frequency of the weather? Everyone always, I think roofers quietly root for storms. Mm-hmm. Maybe not so quietly, but
yeah.
Along with those storms and the weather patterns, I mean, you may be excited to get a lot of business, but what happens if that also is then followed by a rainy season? So you have you get the storms that you want, but there's too many of them. You can't put roofs on, or you're out writing contracts. How do you end up servicing all that demand in case other things outside of your control happen? And oddly enough, the weather is the one thing that we all kind of root for, that it all kind of screws us in the end too with scheduling. So it's like, you may get the storm that you want, but then it could be subsequently followed by just rain. What do you do then? You got a bunch of customers expecting a roof on it. The excuse of, well, we can't stop the weather only holds so long. And as common as you may think that is, from a roofer perspective, from a customer perspective, they don't care. They don't care that it's raining. They just want their new roof. In fact, it's raining. It might rain through their old roof if you don't put the new one on. So, it's customer service, I think, is one of those aspects of of the roofing industry and our industry in insurance restoration as I guess underserved, and with a little bit of added customer service, I think you can avoid certain situations like that. If get the customer to fall in love with you and your company, and then when things like that come up, it won't be such a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I was going with it is, when I build my growth plan, I can't have in my growth plan, well, this is what we were going to do if Mother Nature cooperated with us. You've got to put in your growth plan and in your KPIs things that you can control. And I hear it all the time, like you said, from roofers. We would have done 10 million. It just didn't get any hail, or we haven't had hail in 3 years. What are we going to do? So I think it's important to make sure in your growth plan, it's things you can control. I think that's a great kind of ties it all together. Know your numbers, create KPIs on things that you can control as you scale your team, and find places to pour gasoline on the fire. So, Ryan, I hope you got your milkshake at least a little bit gone. I made you do most of the talking here today.
I do.
But it was a pleasure as always. So, thank you so much for joining us. We added 5 tacos to the taco counter today, which is great. Ryan Holliday with iink, and his advice: know your numbers, create a growth formula off of those numbers. So huge thanks, Ryan, and we'll see you guys next week.
Let's talk about it.